All right. So last time we met, you managed to drag Baron back into Rosgobel to meet his patron, the Brown Wizard. And just as you approached the hedge of Rosgobel, you see something weird. There is a bird, and I really didn't have time to research for types of birds, what could be found. So let's say it's woodpecker. We're in the forest, so woodpeckers shouldn't be like non-existent. So there's a woodpecker who just stands there in the last few feet of the road, of the path that leads towards Rosgobel. The moment it sees you, it starts like, flying just a little bit and then landing and then looking back at you and then just chirping towards you, and then starts going from tree to tree and knocking on the tree. Obviously, this is a sign for you to follow him. So, sorry, Javier, I didn't get your answer, your question.
I'll write it, type it later, don't worry.
All right. So, with you is, of course, Marakar, Joseph's character. So he instantly recognizes this is the sign of Radagast summoning someone. So you follow the woodpecker, and it goes into the tree line and then into the woods. There is a very nice path, like all around it is a little bit darker, but this very path seems a little bit like lit by the sun that just goes through the canopy. And what the woodpecker does is goes from tree to tree, knocks on the tree so that you can hear it. Sometimes you lose the sight of it, but you can always hear it knocking on wood. And not too long after that, like maybe in half an hour, before you see a little cottage. It's very homey in appearance. It does seem to have been made out of someone who is not really like an architect or a home builder. Its walls and its roof are like in very strange angles, but somehow it holds up and does seem very, very cozy. And the door seems to be open. As you step in, you see a robed figure in a huge brown cloak. And from all the pockets of this cloak, there are various herbs and leaves and all kinds of leafy material hanging. He is standing upon a cauldron, upon a fireplace, and he seems to be making something that smells really refreshing. Without even turning towards you, he says, yes, put him over there, and he points towards a bed, which is by one of the walls. Now, just to open up an out-of-character description, generally in Tolkien's lore, Radagast is very briefly mentioned, and most that we know about him is from the films. But I don't really don't like the description that they made of him in the films. In the films, he's a little bit like a comical character, like this little old guy who is very weird. Now I understand where it comes off. It comes from the only description that we have, but the only description that we have comes from actually the words of Saruman, who calls him a fool, and what was the other thing? Well, basically a fool. But that's mostly because he doesn't like him. Now in our game, Radagast will definitely not be that kind of a guy. So just, I'm telling you this before you start interacting with him, so that you don't have that image and act as if he is like that. And then he quickly turns towards the bed, and then you see the face. It's covered in this huge beard that goes all the way even to his cheekbones, and from certain angles it does even look like his face is covered in moss. He has like those very bushy eyebrows. He has this beard up to here, so very little of his actual skin on the face is to be seen. But you do see his big green eyes. This is like a dark green hue, which on this old face are very much like lifelike. This like the eyes of someone who is not in that old man's body. He turns towards the his own well, servant, more or less, and he starts tending to him and give him from that thing that he was mixing in the cauldron. It does smell like a very fine herbal tea. Somehow Baron manages to take a few sips, and then his breathing now relaxes and he goes into a sleep and starts snoring. Only then he turns over to you and says, well, I guess you are the ones that I have to thank for saving my good friend Baron here. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves.
Are you really a wizard? I never thought I would see one in my life.
He smiles, and his smile is this very homely smile that when you were a kid and your grandfather, if he was still alive, or some other grandfatherly figure, used to give old kids and young people. He says, well, some call me that. Others call me just the old man of the forest.
I never thought I would see the old man of the forest in my life. And here I am, just days about my journey, and I see Radagast the Grey.
The brown.
It's an accent we have up there in the woods. I thought you would be gray by now.
Yes, his face is like almost starting to go gray, but you know how like dark brown beards start going a little bit blonde before they go white. That's his color of facial hair.
Where do you want us to go? What do you want us to do? That's all the questions I have.
You are very much to the point, young man. Don't worry about that. There will be time for this.
Baradur the Toe, the name is. If you can write it somewhere, Baradur the Toe.
All right, I'll try to remember this, Baradur.
But son of Baragor. Don't want to interrupt here, but son of Baragor.
But please do take a seat. He seems to be very patient.
You see, Gil will check a little bit and be like, you'll have to, well, you'll have to, how do you say, my English is failing me right now.
No worries. Describe it, what you were trying to say with other words.
You'll have to forgive my friend. He is indeed likes to be very straight to the point, and maybe doesn't have the best manners, but he's a very fine fellow, I can assure you. And well, myself, I am Gilles Droverwin. Great to make your acquaintance. I'm also, well, quite surprised to have met, well, someone like you. Not something I expected when I embarked in this little venture, but I guess this kind of things happens when you go alone an elf. And well, as you probably can see, recognize me, I'm.
Did we lose you? Mid-sentence.
Come back.
Stay with us. No.
Charge the 330 cc's.
Anyway, as Gilles is making his introduction, the brown wizard just looks at him up and down, and he somehow like squints his face and says that it's been a while since he's seen the man of the north before, but he does not really look like quite a man of the north. Although he's quite familiar with with Barador, that's all, and he easily recognizes that he is from up the river. So he asks him how is his friend Beorn, and how are things up north.
Moving up well. We start to move around our territory, move around the world. I can't believe all these stories. Well, he sends his best. That's all I can say. He sends his best. He hope you can visit. And I'm not the best of the man he has, but I am a man of his. And whatever you say, I will do.
All right, child, calm down. Have a cup of tea. And he shows you towards the cauldron where he sees these wooden cups are next to a ladder. Ladder?
Larder?
Ladle.
Ladle. Okay.
So you can pour yourselves a drink. And then he turns towards the little man, Aldgrim, was it?
Yes, Aldgrim. Yes.
Yeah, he turns towards Aldgrim and he says, "Well, seems like my brother has been saying the truth. You still do exist, don't you?" And he
Yeah.
kind of smiles.
We just don't get out much, that's all. Most of us kind of like staying in the Shire.
I still remember your folk. When was it? Over 1,000 years ago, when you used to live here by the Great River as well. But, well, unfortunately, the shadow drove you away. So how has it been there, west of the mountains? Have you found good life over there?
Yeah, it's been nice. I mean, simple and jolly and merry, and lots of, the farm is good, and people come from all over, and we trade and have festivals, and it's nice. But I kind of like more than that, and just like to see, because of all the stories and the books that I've read, I always wanted to see more. And now I've even seen the Brown Wizard, which is quite amazing. But
Good. I don't travel much, but I do remember I have some friends west of the mountains. Maybe one day I'll get to see them again.
I don't mean
Let's
to.
get to the point. We all know why we're here, and we all know what we saw in those woods. Maybe when your friend wakes up, he can tell us more about it, but that was Radagast, though, wise one. What happened?
Now, I see that the people who gather around my good friend Beorn, are a little bit like him, a little hasty. But I must say that if we don't find the time to just sit and exchange news, why are we living? Why? My English now escapes me again as well. Basically, what he means to say is that even in these times when there's always danger around, people should be taking the time to just spend time as people and speak and exchange news. I have to remind you, this is Middle Earth, and they don't have the internet and don't have newspapers and anything. So actually, when you meet people from afar, sitting down and exchanging like news from afar and then stories and such is a great way of introducing one another. Otherwise, it seems a little bit rude.
Oh,
That's why he's taking the time to ask each one of you where you're from and what has been going on there. He's a wizard, though, but he cannot really, know everything just like that. So he will also turn to the elf and ask him what is he doing so far from their kingdom. The last time he heard of Thranduil and his court, they decided to just go behind their own walls and defend their own kingdom.
Well, adventure has always driven me. to explore. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
He does explain that this sounds weird to him, and in his words, you can sense that he is somehow disappointed in Thranduil's choice to just, go up north and not defend Mirkwood, which is, of course, their own. They're both common place that they love. He remembers the times, and he tells you about this, that he remembers the times when Thranduil was a lot braver of a king, and that he used to think that he and his kin need to defend the whole entirety of Mirkwood. But ever since the sorcerer came about the first time, he kind of got scared. Maybe he doesn't exactly say it with his words, but you can understand it in his meaning that he's basically thinking that Thranduil has become a coward lately.
I will agree, surprisingly. I will agree with his remarks. And damn, my English escapes me as well today.
No worries, it happens to all of us. So he then says, well, so it is true. Maybe some of Thranduil's kin is getting restless, and they do not like their current fate. So that is good. That brings hope to the whole region, that Thranduil will not only be sitting on his throne, and when time comes, he may act as he should as a king. So now, is Javier back? Can you hear us? Interact with us? Cool. When he looked at you up and down, he was very surprised. He doesn't travel a lot. He already explained that. So he doesn't know what has been going on with the men of the North, and he doesn't really recognize what you are. So he'll be a lot more interested in into you, and why are you here, and what are you doing so far away from home?
Well, as I mentioned, I used to be kind of a trader, traveling around with my family, trying to do deals with other peoples. But as of late, the reason why I have get so far away and haven't really been before, it's mostly because, well, as I said, I was chosen as an emissary of my people to attend the folk moot that the good men held not much ago. And it was a great honor, and I always thought that it would be great to meet, other peoples and try to work a bit more together. And back in my city, they're used to dealing with other folk, and maybe they don't really like to leave home, but I think their minds are opening a bit of lately, and I'm hoping to try to use the opportunity and maybe be able to create some bonds between all of us. You yourself said it. And it's a time maybe for all of us to start acting a bit more what we should do, and maybe work together to achieve something better, I guess, for everyone. So life has been pretty good at Bray of lately. Can't complain about that. But maybe we can bring that brightness to other peoples too.
Awesome. You see, despite of Barador's attempt to to give a bad impression on the wizard, actually the wizard is really, really concerned about not only his forest, of course, but about people coming together and gathering against the shadow. So that explanations of you that you gave me, that that all of your characters are actually more like not standing behind and not doing anything, just defending their own home places, is something that will give you an awesome. Usually, this game asks for a traditions roll at the beginning of each audience, but you giving the exact reasons that Radagast was looking for, this will give you a direct pass, a success for this roll.
Oh, cool.
So after doing the initial introductions, you see that the face of Radagast opens up a little bit more, and now he feels a little bit more friendly towards you. As you are speaking, does anyone at any time mention about your initial quest from Ingomar to go to the other side, to the East Blight? Would you share that information with Radagast at first?
I would think that would come up.
Yeah, I guess it will come up because, like, during the conversation, because he basically asked what we're doing out here, and
Well, more
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
meeting
guess we-
ourselves in the keeps. Like,
I guess-
you tell me.
I guess we will trust him after a bit, and maybe like telling him that after the full moon, we were going to the Blight, for that very reason.
He will nod very understandingly, and to him, this will be another thing that is good. His remark will be that it is a very good thing that the Woodman clans are actually trying to get together. So he feels that this is an important thing to get them together and united. Given that that latest news that you managed to bring to him, and only then he opens the letter, but he does that as though he really knows what is into that letter. He briefly looks at it, glances at it, and he just nonchalantly just drops it off somewhere at a cupboard and says, well, this is a very great news for the Woodman clans, given the latest news that I got from all of my spies, including Baron. Poor Baron, though. He almost gave his life, as I see, for this. But now one of my greatest fears is probably coming to life. Now, I don't know what you found from this note, because you obviously should have probably have read it. I mean, all men and elves, and especially hobbits, are curious, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think we looked at it. It didn't make a ton of sense because you had mentioned that it was like more or less like kind of depictions and scribbles and stuff, so it wasn't like a detailed note or anything like that.
Yes, because it's not for all prying eyes to understand, but
I think it got the sense of the letter more or less, the general sense.
Well, a sense we found, but purpose we didn't. We don't know what these people that we met wanted, why they attacked us, and why they followed us so far here.
So then he's going to ask you actually about these people. Are you going to describe everything you understood and find out about these men?
Yeah.
Baradur would like to come here in a 10-minute long story about a grievous battle with barbarians that he never saw. Finishing up, with how the story is, his bravest slaying of those enemies. With the help of this crew, of these fine people gathered around here.
But are you gonna tell him what you find out when you were in your bear spirit form?
Yeah, all of it.
Then you see his smile kind of turns into a little frown even.
No, trying to impress him and sorts.
His mood seems to darken a little, but then he urges you to get some of his tea so that he can now explain it to you all, at least what he knows. Does anyone refuse taking tea from the old man?
No?
Oh, not at all.
I've drunk two already.
You had 2 cups.
I'm just gonna
Just pound it.
Sorry, Roddy, what are you saying?
I'm just gonna sniff it first and then I'm gonna drink it.
It's gonna smell like the best summer day, when in midsummer you go about and gather all the herbs.
Oh, yes.
in the first hours of the morning. Well, each one of you who gets this tea drink gets the effects of a long rest. You feel so refreshed and invigorated all of a sudden. Even though your wounds don't I have to explain visually, your wounds don't visually heal, but you don't feel them anymore. You just feel a slight tingling. The pain and the burning just turns into slight tingling. And then he starts to tell you about Fenbridge Castle and the Hill of the Sorcerer, as he describes the old fortress of Dol Guldur. He tells you that reaching Dol Guldur is actually very, very hard. Even he cannot really navigate Mirkwood as he would navigate his own backyard because of the vile and evil sorcery that used to reside there. But what he knows is that Fenbridge Castle is actually a fortification which is built right upon maybe the only navigable way through the swamps that are surrounding the actual rock formation and a mountain where Dol Guldur is situated. So Fenbridge Castle is something like a fortification that's on the only way that is more or less passable towards Dol Guldur. And that place used to be where all the orcish and evil human captains that served the sorcerer used to reside, because Dol Guldur itself used to be just a fortress hidden into the mountains where only the evil one, as he's now referring to him, used to bring only the people that he wanted to and then drive him away. So this was like a solitary fortress thing. And then, as you described the other place that you saw humans who are kind of mingling with orcs, although not actually letting them inside their palisade, he tells you that this does really sound to him like what humans refer to as Tyrant's Hill. This used to be another fortification of Dol Guldur's armies, and which used to be known to the people before the necromancer as Amon Bauglir. Basically, yes, an outpost. It has always been an outpost, but does, by your description now, it does seem to have turned into a settlement of humans. And according to the description, he gives you the a guess, and this is a guess of his, that these are woodmen, probably, but not descendant from the ones that lived along the Anduin, but probably descendants of those who used to serve the necromancer. And although it's been hundreds of years after his defeat, he really doesn't know what's been going on with these people. They seem to not have left the woods, but still use them as their home. Telling you all this information, as he's speaking about the necromancer and Dol Guldur and all these things, you can see that it's like memories flashing, and his face turns more and more into some sort of a frown. And in the end, he is very concerned, and with a very heavy voice, he now tells you that if that's the case, if his friends, the birds and the animals of the forest and Baron has seen for himself is to be true, seems to be something that is stirring once again in Dol Guldur, and he has to go and investigate. And he actually asks you, as the people who have obviously been chosen by fate, to go along with him and assist him in this journey. And of course, he still understands that your original task is also important. And just out of character, I'd like to remind you that it's been only 2 weeks after midsummer, so it's still early in the year. If you're going through the forest to the other side and back, should take you not more than a month and a half or something. And Doguldur, to go there and back is probably the same thing, but it's also in the forest, so it's kind of possible to accompany the wizard to Doguldur and then try to go through Mirkwood, although it would be the most dangerous way. It would. It's possible.
Question your abilities. I mean, it's just your name that speaks of you, but we are mere group of 5 against, for what we know, our armies there in that forest.
Well, I'm hoping the good wizard here isn't planning to match us against any army because, well.
Well, you know what? My dear friend and brother Gandalf, a few years ago, went to the Shire and he only found one little hobbit and 13 dwarfs. And from what you have almost heard, they defeated a dragon.
Well, a dragon is one thing, but lots of orcs. I'm just.
Well, at least they were warriors, no?
Well, on one hand,
I mean, do we have a better plan just than confidence?
Well, an army of orcs is going to be looking for another large force to combat, and they're not necessarily going to be looking for a small little force moving alongside or even skirting around it if we have to pass them. So the chances we could theoretically sneak past them easier.
Well,
spoken like a true hobbit. Right?
I was hoping I would. Yeah, I was hoping. Well, I was hoping to know who's going to be our leader in that trip.
Like I said, you're going to accompany me trying to reach Doguldur. This will be just a scouting mission. We are not going to go out and defeat the orcs. I just need to go there and see for myself what is stirring in the woods and into the old fortress.
But will we really be, like, of help to you? Won't we be more of a hindrance?
Yeah, that's why I imagined if I can help a wizard, I would help a wizard any day of my life.
He smiles and nods and says, well, if you don't feel you're ready, I will go there myself or find other people. No worries about that. You can still go on your quest to the East Blight.
I mean, I for one think we should go with Radagast here.
100%.
Are you going to just let him go like on his own? I mean, we've at least been out there and we've seen some.
Well, I was hoping I could help, but if we're of no hindrance, come on. It's Radagast we're speaking of. Radagast.
No, I mean we for him, not the opposite.
Oh man, Radagast, you're just slowing us all down.
Trying to keep up, old man. Time's up there, changing.
Sorry.
Okay, like the spirit, guys. Go with Radagast, 100% in. All of us.
I mean, Radagast is, he knows the forest well, and if anything does bad happen, we should be able to get out of it. I mean, like you said, we're just gonna go take a look, and if something bad is there, then we book it back, and then we can figure out our plan from there.
Yeah, I guess he knows the wood better than I am.
I guess we can say now to the Brown Wizard. I mean, we have already been blessed just to meet him, and it does get us closer to our other goal if we're able to cross what's left after we reach this fortress. So I'm in. But you see he's a bit nervous nonetheless, like doesn't really like the idea of going back in the forest.
Oh well, worse things have happened. We went on our own last time, so.
Just an aside, we did mention like the orc parties, right? And the ones that he felt like when he did that little like search the ground thing, he felt that the armies were moving. Did we
I think
mention
Yeah.
that? Okay,
exactly what
okay.
I mentioned.
I just want to make sure that that information canonically got brought across.
That's why he got really, really concerned, and
Okay.
that's why he wants some assistance.
Okay.
We also got some information on Mogdred last time, didn't we?
A little bit on Mogded, right?
Mogdred, yeah.
Oh yeah,
The Lord or whatever that she served.
Yeah.
from your descriptions and then his explanations, you basically recognize that the settlement that your Beorning friend found out last missions is actually the Tyrant's Hill.
So we're
And
going
this
there,
is
actually,
this
right?
is where they have settled, and Morgred is seems to be their leader, and now you know that he's a descendant of the Woodman who used to follow the Necromancer back in the day.
Fucking Beowulf now.
Yep.
That's so we're headed to Tyrant's Hill with Radagast.
Yes,
Yeah.
generally, as he explained, he cannot like navigate all the parts of the forest because it has been tainted by the evil sorcery of the Necromancer. So the only good way that he knows toward Dol Guldur actually first passes by the Tyrant's Hill, and then passes by Fen Bridge Castle, and only after that you will find yourselves in Dol Guldur.
So it's Tyrant's Hill. Well, is Dol Guldur in my? Sorry, my geography might have known, brightest kid in class. We don't have much of schools in our part. But is Dol Guldur really far in the west?
It's first you will start going east and then you turn south, and the whole journey would be about 100 miles through the dense forest.
100 miles through the dense forest.
That's a lot.
It is, but then afterwards, if you start going back from Dol Guldur and you're still able and in condition, then you only have to go halfway through the forest to reach the East Blight.
So this blight is how many miles from Dol?
Imagine it
one-
like this. You'll be going. There's a direct line between Rosgobel and the East Blight, which goes through the forest,
Okay.
which is about 100 miles. But if you need to go to Dol Guldur, then you first start going east and then you turn south.
No, because
And that is also about 100 miles.
and then
Yeah. Once if we reach the blood,
map.
we can always return through the easiest path.
If you have the hand guide, there's a map you can look up that has stuff kind of pointed out.
Yes, but usually you're not supposed to be looking at it. Now, if we're playing the game like this, yes, but in my idea of the game is that in Middle-earth there is no like map makers, so no one really created maps, so everyone knows distances by people who have traveled, something like that. And then someone tells you this is 100 miles to the east, or follow that stream, or follow that old forest road, and things like that.
Okay.
I'll be using the maps myself for just calculating all your things instead of the gamey stuff that you open the maps and doing it yourselves. If that's okay.
Yeah.
Good. I wasn't looking the map then. Yeah, immersion.
I was just thinking like out of character so that you could at least understand where he's talking about.
Oh yeah.
Dissociate that information because
in that way.
My player's handbook.
But also bear in mind that sometimes I will be giving you false information. Well, not like false to mislead you, but which will be not entirely true. Sometimes I'll give you distances which are not entirely the same distance as it's in the map. Sometimes I'll give you directions which could be like a few degrees off, just as people would like give you this information mouth to mouth and You know, sometimes
Oh, yeah, 'cause
you
it's
get
the
lost
knowledge
and
of the person
confused.
talking about it, not like a GPS.
Yes, and also like sometimes the misunderstanding between people. You know how sometimes someone who exactly knows where they should go and then they explain it to you, but then you understand something a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my
That's
point
perfect.
was that first you said south and then eastwards, and we passed by Talents Hill. Is that so?
First you start east and then you go south directly
Oh,
to reach Dogodur.
Yeah, yes, there.
That'd be a big. Let's go south then east.
But Radagast will guide you as long as you're with him.
just to repeat the exact instructions. So it's 100 miles on the east to Dalgodur.
No. You first start going east for about a week, and then you start going straight south. And the whole journey, this two things in total will be about 100 miles.
Okay. So we go through dense forest for a week.
And then again through dense forest until you reach the swamps. And then you reach the Rocky Mountains where Dogodur is situated.
Dalgodur is in the mountains.
Yeah, it's like a rocky mountain, like a very old mountain that has started eroding a lot. It's not very high, and there's like
from here.
barren rock that is, coming out of the land.
And this blind is beyond it.
This blight is directly east. Like if you didn't turn south to Dogodur and continued on your way, you reach the east blight.
Okay. Which is
now. If you all want to go there, and with Radagast, of course, I mean, who wouldn't? He will offer you to take your time and maybe spend the night in his cottage. And he then turns towards one. You now turn towards one of the walls, and you realize that there is a door there. So basically, the cottage on the outside seemed a lot smaller than now you realize that it is. And inside that door, when you open it, there is a not really large, but a very cozy room, and which is good enough for at least 5 or 6 people to rest. There are no beds, but the floor is covered in this moss that you can find in mountains and forests, and it all smells like all these fresh herbs, and it's very invigorating as well, just like the tea. If you take a rest there, of course, if you will take a rest there, and you will level up.
Oh.
Nice
little lichens.
So take a time to open your books and decide what you will do on your level up before we continue. While I,
because
smoke my cigarette.
Level 4 is when you get like.
You can either choose to increase one of your attributes by 2 or 2 of them by 1, just as standard D&D, or instead of taking a feat, you can choose one of your cultural
virtues. Yeah, I think there was one I saw earlier that seemed to be fitting for my character. I don't know if it's good, but it seems really fitting for him.
I'll leave it to level up and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Wait, so it's
how much hit points is for level up? It's like base D&D.
No,
level
4, you mean?
Sorry.
So when you said something, how many coins to level up? Did I hear that right?
No, how many hit points?
Oh, I think he was saying that we take half, so like your average hit die.
Okay, the average. So it's for me, it will be 5, I think.
If you're a D10, so you'd be 5 plus your Constitution modifier.
No, it's a D8, I think.
So then your average, I think, would be 4 plus your con.
But I think the average is usually.
Oh, it's about 7.
Because it's usually the average is 4.5, and you get the next up. Like if you have a D8, you get 5. If you have a D10, you get 6, and if you have a D12, you get 7.
Oh, Well, then
That's how D&D does it. I don't know if this changes it. Well, we ask him when he's back.
Yeah, when he's back. I'm actually just looking to do some of these virtues. Dwarves.
I'll also need some help with the leveling up because I've not really done it before.
Are any of your stats on odd numbers?
No.
So they're all even numbers?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna increase my constitution if I'm gonna be the guy who absorbs the damage.
Yeah. I mean, I know what I'm going to do because I have 2 stats that are both odd numbers and they're almost at +3s. So I might up my con and my wisdom up by 1. But if you have all stats that are even numbers, it's kind of up in the air. You might want to take a look at some of those virtues because you're an elf, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. Some of these feats are like deadly archery. It says when making range attacks with a short bow. But you have a longbow, don't you?
Do you think?
I think I have short bow. Yeah, I have short bow.
So then it says you do not suffer disadvantage for long range, nor for attacking within 5 feet. So basically, you always attack just like normal. You don't ever suffer penalties for attacking like really far away, or like the guy's like in your face. You can pull like a Legolas and just like shoot the bow like right at his face.
Yeah.
Unless it's I don't know if to pick charisma, dexterity, or there's this virtue. I don't know if it's any good. That's called Traveler Blessing. That seems fitting for my guy. Your feet become more eager when you turn for home. You have advantage on ability checks meant when making a journey to a sanctuary. You're welcome, even if prior events or the embarkation roll dictates otherwise.
Actually, Darrington, I think one of these actually could work really well with your characters just in general.
The Shadowbane.
He hates orcs, right? He's like absolutely hates orcs. So there's a Shadowbane. Hatred for goblin or orcs is cold and bitter, and it says you get +1 to damage against orcs, trolls, evil men, spiders, etc., etc. So I mean that could work really well thematically with your character.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Because I mean, if you've got good stats, I mean, why mess with it?
So I either up my stats or get a virtue. Is that it?
That's basically. I mean, because 4th level, unless something happens with your character, like with your class, like I think something happens maybe at 5th level for most of us, but 4th level is like the improvement level. But I don't think we get any other skills or abilities or anything else activates at 4th level.
Okay, so I should choose to either up my stats or gain a virtue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that Shadowbane sounds good.
To be honest, guys, I mean, it's like good to discuss the rules, but I think we should try to go without the metagame, like saying I'm gonna up that virtue, so I'll have this and this and that. Like when we try to describe our abilities, to be more general. I mean, it's not like a critique; it's like an idea, because when playing, we can have like a more broad vision of our characters, but it's like really important for us to discuss the rules so we don't make any mistakes.
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, a lot of times, like for instance, like I was looking for stuff that mechanically is advantageous, but also works like within the concept of the character. So it doesn't seem like it's too far out of fetch. Like I'm not one of those people that are like, I get, in 3.5 where I get like monkey hand and all this other stuff, and I can like 2-hand like a 6-handed weapon. No, that's just the stupid. Like I was looking for stuff that would be, be helpful for like an elf is good at archery and he's got this hatred for enemies. So like picking that feat, I mean, we are talking like mechanically here, but like it makes sense. Like lore wise, why he would have this, or why he would, by sleeping upon this, he would get better. Or for instance, like we just finished a long journey. And I wanted to upgrade both my wisdom and my constitution stats. So, having a nice long trek, having your constitution go up. So I try to validate like my mechanics choices, like with in-lore reasonings, not necessarily like do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. But I mean, I get your point there. I get your point too, though.
I agree as well. It's just that I've never really done leveling up in
of course.
Adventures Middle before.
Congrats, the character survived long enough to level up. Aha!
That says, Thor, well, we have a question.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do. Do we, for the hit die, do we take exactly half, or do we take the average on the die?
You take the average on the die.
Okay.
And
Oh
point
yeah, we have hit dice, yeah.
usually rounds up. So
Well, we have it in the player's handbook. I mean, from what I see, like in my
So
hit
it's
a
Five
D10
for
is
D8.
6, a D8 is 5,
you do
Okay.
get
a D6 is 4.
So my hit dice is D10. I get
So
5.
you get 6 plus your Constitution modifier.
Oh, okay.
Because the average of a D10 is 5.5. It's not 5.
Wow, so I get 6 plus 2, so that's 8. So I get a lot of HP.
HP.
I can take a lot of hits. That sounds better.
Gets all high behind the elf.
Any other questions about your level up?
Yeah. Can I get to 20 right now, and do I get +1 modifier in that case?
What do you mean to get to 20?
Did you already have an 18?
19 points right now. That's 4.
You should not be having anything more than 17 on an ability score. So
No, well, it's with racial traits and all.
sorry.
It's with the racial trait and so on.
Your ratio trait should be +1, and the maximum you should have had by point buy should be 15. So actually, you should be at you should be at 16 at most at this point. So you can get to 18, but not to 20.
Well, let me up
Do
to.
I have to revise your Barador? Here it is, Barador the tool. Yep, you got 16. So if you want to grade something, it's +2, so you get to an 18.
And I got 15. Okay, well, let's continue that on chat.
Here's Barador. He has 16 strength and 16 constitution.
Damn. And here I am with 0 16s.
I just now clicked to my T16s. I'm just rolling. I'm retconning my hit die because my con modifier went up by 1. So I'm like trying to do the math for that.
So that will, if you upgraded your constitution modifier, that will give you 4 extra hit points for each level backwards. You know, they stack.
Yeah,
That'd
it's
be
1
getting
hit
another
point
11 hit
per
points.
level, basically.
Yep.
Cool. So now I have 35 hit points. Which is
Oh
better
my
than
god.
24, which is what it was before.
So it's actually 3 extra plus the ones that you get for your additional level, which would be already with your new modifier.
All right, guys, I have a smoke, and we continue at 10 or.
This is like actual Middle Earth. Even the Hobbit is tougher.
I would walk 100 miles with Radagast the Brown.
All right.
I feel flimsy.
We should go for a small break if you guys will need to take a break as well. Or I can stay up here and help you with other leveling up questions.
I already did kind of my mini break, so I'm fine myself.
All right.
I think I took a bit cheap for the level up, so I think I should. And I have the HP. I think that's everything. Do I send you the virtual I picked so you can update your side of the shit?
Maybe after the game.
Okay.
Before you leave, then, do you have any particular features that you want to use before the next journey which is upon you?
Before we leave, I don't really have anything that will make sense here, so no. Because we're like in this cottage with just radicals, like we're really like in a settlement or anything.
Yep, but Radagast is a wise man, well, a wizard. If there's anything that maybe he can tell you.
Oh man, sorry, I just read one of the other feats that I will be getting very soon.
Well, very soon.
Well, because
I
mean,
will say
I
soon.
kind of did it in this last encounter we did, like the first time where I was like, I'm gonna try and go and just disappear. There's literally a feat that I can expend an inspiration die, and that happens.
Sneaky.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sneaky habits.
I was like, oh, that looks good. I mean, would this be a time where I could use my lore from the News from Afar? Would that work in this instance? Would there be anything to gain? I mean, we've been chatting with Radagast for a while, so I don't know if that really would apply to anything here.
News from Afar. You're getting 2 things about the world around you. Was that the thing?
Yeah. Let me news. We'll put it over here. It's at the start of each adventuring phase, because we're about to initiate a new adventuring phase. Am I correct on that? Okay. Yep. Then 2 important events of importance occurring somewhere in the Wilderland. They can be rumors or information passed on appropriate passive ability checks. Yeah.
All right, I'll try to think of something. All right. You hear from Radagast speaking about the dangers of orcs and such. You will now find out 2 more important things. One is that over on the other side of the Anduin, towards the mountain, where the Woodman Mountain Hole is, they also seem to have had recent issues with orcs. Well, they call them goblins over here, but they seem to have trouble with the goblins from the mountain. And the other news that you'll get from Radagast is that something evil, but perhaps not that evil as the evils turning in Mirkwood, is rising in the Gladden Fields. Gladden Fields is on the other side of Rosgobel, where Anduin meets one of the other rivers that flows into it. What you know? Oh, you're a hobbit, right?
I am.
The moment you hear about the Gladden Fields and the things that are stirring there into the swamps, actually kind of gives you a very, very bad vibe. You as a scholar perhaps delved deep into your kin's history.
Oh.
So you would know that hobbits used to live along the Anduin, and the Gladden Fields was one of the places where they were thriving the most. But a few centuries back, during the days of the Shadow in Mirkwood, this is where evil stroke with very great power, and it wasn't like armies of orcs or anything, but it's something evil that just took over the place and turned it from a very a valley of where life was good, and the banks of the river gave your people food and shelter and everything. It turned it into a swamp. So every time you hear news about this place, it kind of gives you this deep sorrow of a homeland lost in the past. And now that you hear that Evo is stirring there again, kind of makes you really, really sad about it, but also very curious.
See.
Anyone else has features that are useful before an adventuring phase or during an audience?
During an audience, I don't think it applies here. I have the thing where I always start like as friendly.
Yeah, and
From the
we
start.
did this automatically though.
Yeah. And aside from that, I have something, but it's I kind of have to go around and talk with the locals, and it's very similar to what he's did. So I think it's no use to using it again.
Yeah,
Basically,
there are
getting news and
there
similar.
are no locals here apart from a few birds and badgers.
Yeah, so doesn't make sense here. That's why I mentioned before that I don't think I will use it here.
So now, on the next morning, the brown wizard will lead you away from his homey cottage and deeper into the woods. As you walk, the path is clear, but from time to time there will be a badger, a squirrel, or a bird coming to the wizard, and you will see him basically conversing with them. He'll be doing the same sounds as the animals do. And this will really strike you as a conversation. It will be something, it will look like definitely like he is giving them orders. And as soon as they get their orders, they will disappear into the woods again. It will be a very short walk, not more than 15 minutes, until you reach a stream. Now, this stream is very shallow and very narrow, but in it, almost spanning the whole width of the stream, there will be a boat, and this boat will have a sail, which will now be not be fully open. And this boat, unlike anything that you've seen around Radagast, which usually is kind of like shabby and just makeshift thing, this boat will be big and white and very, very majestic. It will be the type that some of the elves used to use when on their marine travels. At the fore of this boat, there will be like a swan figure. So that boat will be big enough for you to get you and all of your stuff, and there will be still plenty of room left for on the deck. Just as you go, you'll see that there are places for rows, but the rows will be stacked, and Radagast will explain to you that there's no need for these as well at this point. Just as you get on the boat, it will embark on its own. Those of you who are the wisest or the most perceptive will realize that he's kind of commanding the boat himself. You'll hear him humming and a little bit of singing from time to time, and that will direct the boat. And even though it will look way too big for that stream, it will gracefully navigate all the routes that are coming from the forest in it. So that's part of the journey, will give you no trouble at all. And in half a day, you will reach the Black Cairn, which is actually the the lake, which is inside the forest in these parts, where the main river, which runs parallel north to south and connects almost all of the woodman settlements, which are inside the woods itself. This is where the the river ends, and this is a very huge lake. It's almost 10 miles at times in diameter. You will stop on its shores, and he will throw the anchor into the lake, and he will tell you that from now you will set on foot. So you can make a little camp on its sandy shores, and he has a little thing to do before you continue. And then he will go into the woods. Does anyone want to, sneakily follow the wizard to see what he's up to, or are you gonna stay in a camp waiting for him?
I'm probably gonna give him his space because he knows what he likes to do, and I'm not about to infringe on that.
Jones is not going to try anything. He doesn't want to be rude with the wizard at all.
In that case, in about half an hour, as you're camping, there will be a hill which will be about roughly half a mile away. You'll see from the distance a robed figure emerging on that hill, and then another robed figure, which you'll recognize as Radagast, also climbing on that hill. They will seem to meet on that hill, speak for about 15 minutes, and then disperse. I'm sorry, my English tonight is like
It's okay.
just gone. They'll go their own ways, and then half an hour later, Radagast will emerge from the forest back to you. He'll speak nothing of it, and but he'll realize that his mood is once again darkened, and then he'll tell you that you must make haste and go into the woods so you can pack up whatever you need for the rest of the journey, which will be about 90 miles, and you should go. One of your choice, can you roll me a d12?
Seven.
7 is good. Now, as you begin your journey, now you fully understand the dangers, but having Radagast at your side and knowing of the danger itself will give you a sense of confidence that the task ahead will be quite successful. So mechanically, this will give you the first roll during each encounter will be made at advantage.
Ooh.
The first roll not including initiative, is that correct?
You can choose that to be initiative.
Okay.
If it's a combat, if it's something else, it will be like the first roll of that encounter.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
depending the type of encounter. Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's nice.
So the second part of your journey is still into the forest. The thing that you have been to this part of the forest before. It was quite a good adventure for you, quite a good experience last time. And this time is no different. You have Radagast at your side, and it does seem that trees themselves just, show him the way. And there's still birds and little animals who scurry around and seem to be pointing him into the right direction. You are in the part still known as narrows of the forest, and you are going east, but little by little you know that you're turning south. You will experience no events during that point until you reach that place that Parador saw in his spirit sequence. You will at one day during daytime you will see this hill, which will be somewhat before you, maybe a mile or so, and you will recognize that there is a watchtower on top of it. Radagast will turn over to you and say, well, this is our first obstacle. Yeah, thank you. We'll have to go here, and judging by what you told me about these people and their latest doings, we better remain unnoticed. You approach a little bit more, and then you realize that there is smoke coming from this place. It's not like a smoke of something burning. It's more like the regular smoke of houses and things being cooked, and, fireplaces being warming up other houses. So it's definitely inhabited, and you would expect that people should be definitely watching over. Now, in my games, I usually use these advantages. Like, you don't have to really decide before you roll if you need to use your advantage, since you already have it. You can use it as generally a reroll if you have a bad roll.
Okay. So we are attempting to be stealthy and infiltrate. Is that correct?
Not infiltrate, but basically,
by unnoticed.
this place is made to watch over the only passable way through that forest. So there's definitely watchmen along the towers, and they'll be keeping watch to see what's going on in the forest. So, yeah. And also, if you have some great ideas how to facilitate your stealthier approach, or passing by in this case, you can do so now.
Time of day, is it kind of shady?
Right now is midday. Of course, you are in a hurry, but this is a long journey. You can decide to go into the night. Just remember that they don't have anything resembling dark vision, but neither do most of you.
That's true.
Yes, I have a bit of a bold plan, of course. But what we know for sure is there are patrols nearby.
Yeah.
And we can always catch a patrol, like trap a patrol and see what we can get from them. The other thing is that, oh, fuck it.
As I say, I think the best part of being, for these infiltrate or even passing by is to just not be noticed at all. I think running into combat or even trying to gather information from if we could maybe catch one, that might be one thing. But that's running a real risk where we could basically disalert the whole group, and that's really not great.
I think it would be best if we avoid any conflict once we deem it completely necessary for now. We're just about to we're just starting to approach, so better not to raise the alarms, even we got to go deeper.
Well, the thing is that the much as we know, the better. As much as we know, the better.
If we're gonna roll stealth, my stealth roll is 13 plus 4, so a total of 17. Whenever that comes into effect, I don't know if we're going to be approaching it yet or what we're doing, but
No, it's just an idea to maybe consider trying to catch patrol with Radga's knowledge of what's going on, his spies and everything.
Maybe if you fail, you will find a patrol, or a patrol will find you.
probably the other way. Yeah, they'll find us.
So are you stopping to wait for the night and then slip through, or do you go now during the daytime?
Does Radagast have any thoughts on the matter?
All right, this is the first time you're asking, right? I guess so. He will tell you in a very solemn way. Just imagine one of those monks in Tibet. He will tell you that as much as you know about wizards is probably not everything that you should or would or ever will. But he will now confide into you that although he's a man of great knowledge, there are rules in this universe that do not allow him to meddle too much into the affairs and fate of the mortal beings of Middle Earth. So whatever you decide will be your own fate, and this will shape the fate of everything around you.
So no pressure. Okay. Everything you decide chooses your fate. I mean, I'm partial for waiting to nightfall. We can kind of hang back. Maybe we can set up like a little oversight area where maybe we can watch what goes on for a bit. Maybe we could see some patterns for patrols if when they start setting those up.
Yeah, that's
that way, when
fine.
we decide to leave, maybe we can not maybe at full night, but like at dusk, when everyone's kind of going in for supper. Maybe we can use that to get around. Anything we're because right now we have no information on how any of their stuff goes. So
You do have information that they're probably not very friendly with the orcs, but they do have orcs. From what you know about orcs, and this was probably knowledge given to you by Darmidan, the elf. He knows a lot about orcs, and he knows that just as he can see in the darkness, so can they. And they're also a lot fearless and relentless, and they're like animals. If they catch you or scent, they will continue to hunt you, and they will know no fear nor tiredness until they catch you or die of exhaustion.
The problem of waiting for the late outside of the time we will lose. I don't really. We will lose our ambition and we may stumble onto them by accident.
For night vision, is that something we would know? Do orcs have good night vision?
They do in my world.
Okay.
Way better than humans and halflings.
Okay.
Maybe not as good as elves, but.
All right.
I think we should try our best now.
You want
like even if they have more chances to see us, we all will at least be able to see what's going on and maybe find a better path than in the dark when we might trip with anything and actually reveal ourselves. I think it's safer now, even if there's light around. That's just my opinion.
So votes for now?
Well, I wouldn't say now. I would say, as you suggested, waiting a bit later, so we know paths and we know. I mean, we can see some pattern in their movement. Like rushing now, we can get surprised.
So, like, maybe give it maybe 2 hours. We'll see what we can learn just by observing, and then.
Yes,
I mean, you said it was midday, so it's not like we're gonna run out of light in 10 minutes or kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you want to scout around? Is that what you're getting?
That's the consensus.
All right. Do you remember who your scout was?
Was it me?
I think that me, or was I?
It was either you or the elf.
I think I was the lookout.
Uh-huh.
Were you lookout?
Well, now you can choose though. Definitely one has to stay in the camp and be very good at noticing danger if they find you, and one should be also really good at sneaking about and gathering information.
I'm really good at staying at camp and really bad at sneaking around.
Well, maybe I should go take a look then.
Fair
I
enough.
can't believe I just volunteered myself.
All right then. Would you like to use your sneak check that you already made for going forward and trying to find a better place to?
I would say that probably would work. Yeah, my 17 roll. I'd like to use that stealth check now.
All right. So you leave the rest of the camp and you go further into the woods towards the Tyrant's Hill. And very soon you find a very good spot, a very easily climbable tree that you can go up to and spend 2 hours watching what is going on. You do realize that, yes, there are patrols. Another thing that you see is that those patrols, some of them are orcs, but some of them are humans, and they don't really mix. You don't find any patrols that are from both humans and orcs. From time to time, they will kind of meet and exchange very, very crude words in something that is very broken common. They're basically telling each other that everything seems all right and there's no danger, and then be off on their ways as well. And you will get the feeling that they're not on high alert. They're just, doing regular rounds, and that's about it. Of course, they are always on some kind of alert because they live in Mirkwood, and apart from orcs, there are also other things in the woods like spiders and such. But they're definitely not looking for something in particular.
Okay. Do I get any glimpse of like what kind of armaments they're wielding? Like just broad, like swords, spears, bows, anything like that?
Basically, both groups, both orcs and humans, they do use some sort of ragtag gathered from here and there, pieces of armor and weapons. So they don't have anything like a uniform armament that they're using. They don't have anything special. They most have swords. Well, not all of them have swords. I mean, most of them have spears and small wooden shields.
Okay.
Some of the smaller orcs do have like short swords, short bows.
Okay. So kind of ragtag armory, kind of just mishmash stuff.
Yeah, they're not like professional warriors who are look very dangerous, but there are a lot.
Okay. I will definitely then try my best to sneak on back. Shall I make another roll?
No.
Okay. So then I will head back to camp and I will divulge that information, what I saw, and then let's see if we can maybe use.
In Radagast's spies, the birds in the trees, do they know the pattern of their moving? Or?
Well, he said he wouldn't really help us that much.
Radagast once again reminds you that your fate is one of your own, and he truly believes that whatever you choose to do should be of your own doing, and that will be the right thing to do. Remember how Gandalf was of great help during the Hobbit?
Yeah.
Great help in,
It was an excellent counter. Made sure everyone was there. That was about it.
Yeah.
Then I would say now is probably the best time. They're not too alert. They're just kind of going about. So as long as we don't make horrible amounts of noise, they shouldn't really be actively looking for us, or but if one of us makes a bunch of noise, then we'll obviously have to book it.
Yeah.
Oh, don't forget, group checks are group checks. So if half of you make it, all of you make it. It's not like one fails and then it all goes to hell.
Well, if half of us
Rocks fall, we all die.
same applies. So
And remember, you have that advantage in hand in case you need it.
That's true.
Okay. So
yeah.
we decide when we use that advantage.
Yeah, like I said, I like to use to let you use those things. Not like use it before or decide before the roll, but if you roll badly and you have something like that, like a automatic advantage or an inspiration in reserve, you can use it to reroll the die and then choose the higher.
Okay, that's good. So shall we try our luck
Go try our luck.
and our skill, I guess?
See if we all die.
And of course, I remember some of you have have inspiration from previous sessions. I hope you marked that on your
Yes.
sheets. All right, cool. But just one reroll per check, so you cannot use both your advantage and your inspiration to reroll twice.
Gotcha. And does the same DC of 14 or whatever that you mentioned before for most stuff, does that stand? Or is this an
Oh no, I'm
independent?
not gonna give you the DC at the moment.
Okay. Then I have a 16 for my stealth check.
All right, cool.
Ooh, fucking nailed it. 18 from dice, which is 18.
You don't say.
No, you have 14 dexterity, man. You have 20 at least. Because I just looked at your
That'd be a
sheet.
+2 on the die. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was looking for any handicap, but no. Yeah, you're right, 20.
20. All right. What about you, Javier?
9.
Nice.
Ooh,
9!
So now it all depends on the elf then.
it's 21 total.
All right, cool. You're good. So knowing their patrols and knowing that they're not really, well, they're a little bit careless, you manage to navigate your way through tree to tree. You wait a little bit when you hear footsteps, and then you manage to leave Tyrant's Hill behind you. You manage to get as far away as possible until night comes, and you make your camp. But soon after Tyrant's Hill, you know you have to turn south, and the journey changes dramatically. You are now in the part of the woods that Radagast explains to you that these are the haunted parts. This is where the shadow was heaviest. And even in midsummer, we are close to midsummer now, these weeds are kind of slimy and dank, and there's like this foul smell all the time. From here on, you have a very hard 60 miles to go, and it will take you roughly about 12 days, maybe 2 weeks to get there. And as you continue, you can see that even Radagast starts to suffer from this gloom and all those noxious vapors that rise. They rise. They are there the whole evening, and they even do not dissipate until actual midday. And the moment the dusk starts settling in, they appear again. The peril rating for this part of your adventure is higher, so from now on, the DC on your checks will be a hefty 17.
Ooh.
Yeesh.
Now let me roll if you have any journey events to deal with around here. And yes, you do. So someone who didn't roll me a D12 first, so someone else, can you roll me a D6, please?
Just somebody.
Well, that's not me.
Ooh, that's a 3.
That's a 3. All right, thank you. Can you make me another roll as well?
D6 again.
Yep.
That's a 4.
Now, As you continue on your way, like I said, it's getting harder and harder, and every day to actually act to even make progress. And one of the evenings, probably a week from when you started in this part of your journey, you lay down to rest one evening, and soon each and every one of you starts having nightmares. These nightmares are actually desperate cries from people, people who have been captured and enslaved, and you see them into some halls and dungeons of a fortress that you don't. And among those faces, in your dreams, you start seeing people that you know. They're both people from your present, and somehow you know that these are people also from your past. Maybe some past relatives or people who are friends of yours, maybe even loved ones for someone. And somehow you feel the dread that you can really cannot save them from their doom. Each one of you will now choose your best mental attribute and give me a saving throw.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
The best mental attribute.
Yeah, that's either intuition, wisdom, or charisma.
Oh, okay. So saving throw, right?
I wonder if I have
Yep.
any perks here that might help me out.
Okay.
19 plus 1.
So 20.
Would this count as a corruption?
This will count as a corruption, yeah.
Okay, so because of my culture features, I have resilient, so I will have advantage on this saving throw,
Oh, yes, you will. Hobbits are awesome.
which is good because I just rolled a 4. Better.
Can I
that's a-
use my advantage right now?
Of course you can. And then you can strike it out and not have it anymore.
16?
Oh
plus
yeah, I think I'm gonna do that too.
Okay, this is better.
21 on my wisdom with an advantage roll.
Mine is 17 on intuition.
All right.
And mine is 18 charisma.
So all of you succeed, and the reason you succeed is that something wakes you up, and this will be Radagast. And Radagast is using his stuff to actually hit you a little bit on the side of your voice to wake you up. And as you do, he will start singing a song. And this song will be about how well, you won't actually understand the words. You just get the feeling that how the world was created and how it came to be and how there was always shadow, but in the end, the free people of Middle-earth always succeeded and found a way through, even after the world was destroyed. Now, your characters won't actually know about the world being destroyed before. But you just get the soothing relief that comes from his voice and from his singing. Actually, to your characters, that will be like an old man with his weirdly youthful and vivid eyes, singing to you in some angelic voice. And this will save you from the shadow and its corruption. And during the next day, and even from the morning, he'll suddenly like jump into actually doing stuff. And knowing that you had a rough night, he'll be the one who actually prepares breakfast. Breakfast will be awful, but you won't feel it that much. From the whole day, from that point on, he will still try to cheer you up and keep your spirits up, and he will tell you stories of like days gone long time ago, about heroes who fought against the shadow, some of whom died but some survived and just brought the light back to the land. At this point, I will also give you advantage or any lore check that you may have in the future. You can just put it down somewhere on your sheets that next
Like
time.
when use lore check advantage.
Yes, next time you need to do a lore check, this will be advanced. Not like if you choose to do so. Next
Okay.
time you do a lore check, you have an advantage, and that will be it. From the memories you got from the wizard stories that day. Those were your 2 events, actually. They went pretty well.
I was all worried because you were just like, all of a sudden you're like, well, here we go. And I was like, oh God.
There's still a lot to go. No.
So 3 troglodytes.
And suddenly spiders descend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm that kind of a DM.
Spiders fall, everyone dies.
So the rest of your journey will be, again, tough, but not really that much unbearable. Radagast will try to raise his spirits whenever necessary. And at one day, he will tell you to actually stop. You will realize that the ground beneath your feet has slowly and little by little started getting a lot softer than it was before. And you realize that soon you'll be reaching the swamps that surround Dol Guldur. When you actually approach this place, Radagast will explain to you that the shadow, he senses the shadow over here and still lingering. It's not like so far you've only seen the results from the shadow that was here centuries ago, but now he senses it, that it's here and still lurking. So he warns you that your journey will become even much harder from this point on. And if at any point one of you or any of you decide to quit, it will not be dishonorable, and it will be all right. He can continue on his own if you decide to turn back. So he tells you that in a day you will find you'll reach Fenbridge Castle. And
Okay.
sorry?
I said we're this close. I mean,
Yes, you are already this close.
turning around now, it just, I mean, unless something immediately imperils us,
He smiles because he knows that your characters have not experienced the Shadow Forest, so you don't. He commends your jolliness, Master Hobbit, but he still tells you that what you may experience may be something that you never experienced before. You may not know what is happening, and you can even it can even drive the jolliest person mad.
Well, I appreciate the offer, but I think I prefer to stay stay together, at least even in this dark place. Better than going away on their own. Right? This is where we're here for, after all.
Yeah.
Right? He can give like a half smile, like trying more to encourage himself than the others, really.
Well, I would rather die than turn back.
So now, before you stands Fenbridge Castle, and you have 2 options. To go through Fenbridge Castle, that you have the information that has been repopulated with orcs, or try to find your own way through the swamps.
Ben,
if only we had our guide with us.
I know, right?
I can roll for him, or someone of you can roll the die, and we can use his survival bonus, which is...
No.
I rolled a 15.
I don't have his character with me, but I know that he needs to have at least +5.
Oh, he's good.
So
I do have some knowledge about surviving in these parts. Let me try to find a pet. Ay. Maybe I should look for another one.
like, I have knowledge of these parts. Takes 2 steps forward, sinks into swamp.
Exactly. That's exactly what actually happened. Exactly there. Because the moment I strayed out the path, I thought, I don't know if it's, sinking sand or just my boots are too heavy. But I think I'm stuck, guys. Yeah, it's a critical miss.
Also, I will give you advantage on your guide's roll. Basically,
I don't.
Joseph's character.
My check was a critical miss.
I got that. We'll get to that later. Don't worry. But yes, can you roll again, please, for Joseph's character?
Yep.
Oh, it's actually +4 on his side.
So
advantage.
it rolled off of my table onto the floor, but it's still showing a 15.
Always counts if it's high.
I mean, I can roll again, and it's just my 15 + 4 would be a 19.
All right. Also, can I have Javier's and Radi's characters do a survival check as well?
Okay. Normal or with advantage?
You already lost your advantage. The advantage was for Joseph's character, who is kind of a ranger in this setting.
Okay. Yeah, my advantage, I use it for the corruption thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I roll good, and I'm half decent at everything. A 21.
Ooh, nice. What about you, Radi?
I rolled an 8 total.
8 total. All right. So 2 failures, 1. Oh, and the Grim, you roll for your roll character as well.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm rolling with stat.
Survival.
But it doesn't matter because it's a 7.
Okay, so we have 3 failures, 2 successes, and 1 of the failures is also. All right. Now, first of all, I will take care of that critical failure because at this part of the woods, so close to the shadow, it matters.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what happens now is that you decide to skirt around and find your way through the swamps. At first, you find steady, hard ground, and you prod with your spear blunt ends or staffs or whatever walking sticks that you have. So you manage to get some good ground for the first day, and then you have a camp into the swamp. It's not very nice. Everything is wet and doesn't seem this dampness of your cloaks and your clothes and your sleeping bags doesn't seem to go away. And during that night, Barador has once again a terrible dream, and this dream is a little bit different than the other. You, Barador, dream that you are reaching actually the fortress of Barad-dûr. But in your dream, you are expected. Before you, there are 3 figures, human-like, but they seem to be really tall, like almost twice as tall as you are. They have these really great black double-handed swords, 2-handed swords, and they are beckoning you as to welcome, come, we have been expecting you. And in your dream, The rest of the party seems to believe them. They are actually lying that you, Barador, actually lured everyone else into this trap, and everyone gets trapped and well, not slaughtered, but brought down by these huge swords, and then put in chains and led into the catacombs of Tog Uldur, along with Radagast, while you are sitting, are led to sit along with these dark figures into one of the chambers of the fortress itself. You wake up in sweat, and your heart beats almost going out of your ears. You get 1 point of shadow back.
Oh,
That's one hell of a nightmare.
yeah.
Oof. I was like, wait a second, we're all dead? Ah!
On the next day, you continue through the swamps, and just at the time that you thought that you got it, and you will be there without any further problems, all of a sudden, the first one of you who goes into the line sinks, like suddenly just disappears before your eyes. Just before you have a time to panic, everyone else just drops into the mud. It's not really like a quicksand or anything. It's not like mud. It just seems to be that there was like an overgrowth over a large hollow piece of the swamp. So now on top, which was the moss that is now crushed underneath your weight, is now hanging along the edges of this sinkhole, and you are inside, and you need to get out because it's about maybe 4 meters, which in feet should be something like 12 feet.
Yeah.
And you also, each one of you gets 3 points of damage.
Ew.
Okay.
Any special plans?
I have.
That hurt.
I do not.
Gil's kind of stumbles back up, looks like towards the sky or whatever he can see, like up, and it's like, do you think we can kind of do a, I don't know, climb up on each other and try to reach the edge?
Or do we have any rope?
Point, good question.
I don't have any rope, but if someone else has rope, we might be able to do something with that.
As far as I remember, Joseph's character was pretty stacked on things to survive in the wild. He explained that in the first session, that he has rope and he has all kinds of...
Oh, I actually, because from my equipment, I actually have rope. 50 feet of hemp rope.
Well, that could help in terms of. Is there any like trees or anything we might be able to like fashion a lasso kind of thing? And
Well, not really in the swamp.
okay.
Maybe if we like help each other, someone can climb out, tie the rope outside, and then the others can climb out more easily.
Well, whichever the tallest of us here, I'm already at a massive disadvantage as I like look up and put my hands on my hips. I'm like, it's not even taller for me. Maybe one of you should go first.
Yeah, well, I am Barador the Tall, but I feel puny in this swamp. I don't know if I can even try.
Well, fuck up. I mean, you won't know unless you try it.
Can you maybe try to help the Hobbit reach to the top?
I mean, you can always maybe toss me. Toss the Hobbit. Oh, goodness, I just said toss the Hobbit.
Well, I'm not tossing Anybody. I'm not saying anybody today, but if something should happen, maybe it should happen to me. Let me try it. Okay, I did it.
What are you
90,
trying? To climb out
yeah, exactly. To
with
the
bare
rock.
hands and feet on the mud. Give me a disadvantage on that athletics check.
Well, it's athletics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, 8 with disadvantage.
All right. After a few attempts, you see your tallest and strongest member of the party trying to get out. He finally does it. He doesn't want to show it to everyone else, but it took him very, very well, a lot of strain on even on his also muscles. You managed to get out of there, but you do get yourselves you yourself one level of exhaustion.
All right.
Okay.
There.
Are,
But from
are
that
you
point
ready?
on, from that point on, it should not be a problem since he is the strongest of all of you, and if he's holding the rope himself, he can easily take everyone else with the rope.
Well, don't forget they're sliding on the tears from my nightmare, man. I'm just seeing them. One day I won't be there to pull you out, you know.
Or
Uh,
maybe you're pulling them out to lead them into the trap. Who knows?
That's
Dun,
how it
dun,
is.
are you ready? And tells him the rope up now. And yeah, yells and tells the rope to once again so he can pull us out, as you mentioned.
I will take this for later.
Now, with that only hindrance, you spend 2 more days into the swamps, but in the end, you are certain that you have passed the Fenbridge Castle and now stand before a place that is always dark. Even during the day, it's like dusk. Sorry, yeah, it's like dusk. Before you, there is a mountain, which is this rocky, sharp edges. It's not really very welcoming. And at the side of that mountain, you can see the silhouette of a what seems to be like a castle or a fortress. Some of the towers are crumbling away, and the silhouette is not really perfect, but you do realize that this is Dol Guldur, and this is the former seat of the necromancer. You're ready to approach Dol Guldur, and you know that it's with your current pace, it should be perhaps 2 or 3 days to reach it. Give me 3 saving throws against corruption. I'm going to allow them with the highest mental ability that you have.
Each.
Yeah, 3 corruption saving throws each.
Okay. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a lot of saves.
This is for the 3 days that you are approaching Dol Guldur, and if at any point one of you decides that it's getting too much, they can let me know. One reminder about how I do the corruption. You acquire it in, as you know, points. The moment they reach your lowest mental ability score, you can tell me so. It's not going to be all about wisdom or all about intuition or all about charisma. I'm going to give the saving throws to be chosen with the highest ability, unless it's specific. But then when it reaches your lowest mental score, something will happen.
Okay. I have an 18, a 10, and a 2.
All right.
I should still have an advantage since from grabbing
Everything below 17 is a failure. 17 is a success and more. And if you still have your advantage from before, you can use it on one of these saving throws.
Okay, I'll use them too.
Well, I didn't even need to use my advantage, my resilient feature, because I did very well. I got a 15 plus 5, 17 plus 5, and 16 plus 5.
Are you easily walking into Mordor? Well, Doguldur in this case.
Kind of stroll in Mordor or Doggledore. I stroll through the doggy door and
You said with 17 we make it, and anything lower is a failure, no?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have one failure. One saddle. Okay. Yeah, I got a 17 and 11 and a 20 something.
Good.
I got a 17, a 16, and an 11.
All right, so 2 points of shadow.
Perdón.
Not too shabby. I mean, you have to realize you are now reaching Doguldur, like one of the iconic shadow places. So having only 2 or 3 points of shadow should be like really good. For now.
always have to add that.
Now, as you approach, Radias sees the expressions on your faces and tries to cheer you up. But even in this weird land, he is not really cheerful himself. He tells you that you should be expecting for this fortress to be empty, but who knows? It may not be. You reach the lower sections and you try to be as quiet as possible. Can you all give me perception or survival checks?
Either one.
Everyone can do it if they choose to, and they can choose to be either perception or survival. And your DC is 17, so whoever.
Nope.
I failed then because I got a 15.
I got a 19 total.
You got a 19 on perception, I suppose, or
Well, it's the same.
it's the same for you. All right, gotcha. What about you, Barador the Tall? Don't forget you have first level of exhaustion, so you have disadvantage on all your skill checks. Is he with us? He's muted though.
Yeah, but
I felt survival, so it's like.
All right.
Yeah, 7.
Don't forget that you have this disadvantage until you take a rest. All right then. Well, all of you seem to be like in awe from these towers and the walls of Doguldur, but the elf is on alert, and it's a good idea to always have an elf with you. He's the first to realize that this fortress does not really that abandoned as it seems. What's seemed to be like a pile of rocks to you from the distance, to his elven eyes, he realizes that these are actually piles of bodies. And if you approach those bodies, you realize that those are bodies of orcs. These orcs is easy to discern that they seem to be from different clans, and they seem to have fought each other, and these are the remains of that quarrel. Seeing that, Radagast also warns you to not stray far from him into the ruins as you would enter.
Oh, don't worry. I wasn't really planning to.
If orcs have been about, he says, we should really not chatter along and search everything. My guess would be to just go straight into the high keep and make sure you look for anything written, any documents or any other types of things that we may gather about what has been going on in the area. Of course, if you notice anything suspicious or recent, that should also be a warning.
Okay.
Let's just do as we might and get out of here.
Sorry, what was that?
Let us just do as we might and get out of here.
And the moment you enter the main entrance of the keep, what seems to be the actual draft from inside the fortress now to you seem to be the howling of many slaves who are toiling towards their death. Can you give me another saving throw against corruption?
All of us?
Yes.
Okay.
God.
14 plus 5, 19.
This is a very, very bad place.
Oh, that's a 17 plus 2.
Good.
8.
Aunt Lucy, is that you?
Yeah, I think I'm fine to 16 position.
So whoever failed a DC 17 corruption save this time does not get shadow, but he does get the condition frightened.
Oh, okay, this is self-aiding.
And this will last until you take a short rest.
Okay. So you will see Gil's kind of shivers for a moment when they enter and hear this noise, and it's kind of we're all looking around and making very sure he stays very close to all the others.
Once inside the keep, Radagast seems to know his way. He's been here before. He finds the correct stairs that will you into the high keep, and you are inside a hole that has like these little, not like rooms, but niches that are on the walls. And this place does seem to have had in the past like rows of different bookshelves and desks and whatnot that have fallen into ruin at this point. The wood has been eaten away by all kinds of maggots. Even the stones have a lot of cracks in them, and the mortar between them has fallen into dust at places. But there's still a lot of place to cover and a lot of things to search. So Radagast suggests you spread out, but just a little bit. Just always be within eyesight and shout sight of each other, not to lose anyone. So he asks you to search that place. How do you do it?
Carefully.
Maybe
Should we?
It's no, it's 5 of us. Maybe we can do it two and one. Who feels the bravest?
Well, I mean, I volunteer to see if there's maybe any books or writings or anything. I know the bookshelves are in bad array, but maybe I can find something.
All right. You want to search the bookshelves. Cool. Give me in our case, it's a perception check because I merged perception and investigation into one. Yeah.
That is a 12. A 12 and 12, because I have no bonuses to it.
Cool. You go to the niche where the most of the bookshelves have remained more or less intact. And just as you step in, instead of books, you do find a corpse.
Ooh.
That corpse is of an orc, and it's curled up into one of the corners. He seems to have been stabbed with a knife, and this seems to have happened somewhere, not where he is right now, judging by the brownish, almost turning to dust.
Sí.
Sí que.
Que sí.
Si la pago, si la dejo.
Coño, ¿qué pregunté?
Thank you. Almost turned to dust, trail of blood.
A dust trail that turns into blood?
No, the blood that has almost turned into dust and it's brown.
Okay, gotcha. Does it trail anywhere?
He seems to have been stabbed into the main hole and seems to have crawled into one of the niches where the books were and died there from his wounds.
Well, no books.
Guys, I say we split in twos, searching, just in case.
Yes, I believe that is a good idea. Place definitely is giving off a creepy vibe.
So we go to the trail or against it, like opposite direction of where that come from.
Why not opposite?
I would go with opposite.
All right. If you go opposite to that trail, it will lead you to, well, this will be like a part of the wall that has stayed into the shadow. But if you look closely, there will be like the bookshelf that is onto the wall is really like cracked and bits of pieces have fallen off from it. It does seem to have been moved recently, and behind it there's an actual iron door.
Oh.
This iron door, though, is not really shut. There are a few particular clues on it. One of them is that it has been opened, and also part of it has been looks like it has been hit with something very heavy. So, to the most intelligent of you, I suppose the Hobbit, this would seem like it has been tried to be forcefully opened, but then in the end it was opened by someone who is skillful at this particular kind of skullduggery.
I see. So the door is slightly ajar.
It's slightly ajar, and it's also slightly caved in as well. Both.
Okay. Well, I suppose
leads into a dark corridor.
Peek my head in. Did we have any light sources out at this point, or were we
no one's mentioned them before. You could have had them. You can do it now. Beyond the door, there is a dark corridor.
Well, I guess I'll first poke my head through, and if I don't see any other no light sources coming back at me, then
there are no other light sources, and there are also no other black arrows shooting at you.
That is good.
Yeah.
Then we'll definitely pull out my torch, or my little just my torch, and I'll light it with my tinder and kind of poke my head through there, and then call back and be like, found a passageway. Not sure where it leads.
Well, that's where the oaks came from.
Nowhere good of that, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
when you light your torch, I'm sorry.
No,
go on.
Well, it leads nowhere good because this guy met his fate going where he was going. And I think behind this door we'll find where he came from. It looks like.
So you light a torch and you hear that noise. When in Javier, can you mute your microphone when you're speaking to your roommates or a family? Oh, he's with his family. So you hear that noise when you light a torch in a very, very old and dusty place, and the dust itself starts cracking from the heat. And after a few corridors and little cells on the side of the corridors, you find yourself in a slightly larger compartment, and that seems to be like an actual library. So gives you the idea that the thing in the main hall was just like bookshelves in the main hall and desks in the main hall that were not really used for anything specific. But here, in a secret behind an iron door, is the actual library where it was. There's scattered parchments all over the floor, and there's also bookshelves that go all the way to the ceiling. And there are lots of documents.
My eyes like light up because this is basically what I decided to leave the Shire for, was like lost old tomes and books. So I just like, is there any other like dried sconces with torches, or even an empty sconce I could like hang my torch on?
Oh yeah, there's such places, of course. It has no windows, so it obviously have places to put your torches and you have some light.
So I will put my torch up there, and I'll just kind of poke out back through the hall, be like, "Found a library. Let Radagast know if he's still looking. I'm going to be in here." And I'm just going to start reading, like whatever I can find, whatever information I can find. Would this be a lore if I'm going to be, whenever I do look into it?
Radagast and you are the ones who just right away start reading the scrolls. And you don't need an actual lore skill check for this, because these are documents who are written in common. Although very with a very ugly handwriting. Well, first of all, the bad news for you is that these are not tomes of old lore. The frightening news and a very alarming news is those documents are almost all of them speaking about scouting missions into the Vales of Anduin. And what is most alarming to this is an up-to-date description of the military forces of Lake Town.
That's disconcerting.
You do speak a little Elvish, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure if the many tongues feature is just spoken and not written, but I mean, I would assume that the scholar is at least well enough read that I could probably know.
Oh, you can recognize that it's Elvish, and you can recognize some of the words, but you also have an elf, so you can ask them what is written in these scrolls. And what is particularly more alarming, that some of these scrolls actually hint towards scouting missions into Thranduil's kingdom.
Oh.
Oh.
But I would like just to say, you be careful now and just go around the room, look for any other entrances and so on.
The room is very small and has no other obvious exits or entrances. It's like a hidden secret library where someone was storing their actual Black Ops information. And these seem to be very, very recent. You are certain that has not been a year where these has been written and stored over here.
So they have been watched.
They've been this is active scouting information. This is recent reports. This isn't just like old homes from when this place used to have, activity. This is current.
Yeah, but
So you think those orcs or humans, or they are using this like as a base of operation for their missions around in the zone?
Or they're reporting back here to some kind of master?
yeah, I would say that too.
Because
Do you
none of them
think-
struck me as a keeping records and books type of person.
Not exactly the core type. But we have to connect this with what killed them, like what brought that body into the main hall. It's not that old.
And if you keep searching for that, in one of the side niches, you will find another body. This one has stiffened as it was leaning against the wall. And this is a body of a human. This man, judging from his garb, some of you would know, most probably hailed from Lake Town. His cloak is caked with the dried mud and blood. And the mud is obviously from all around the place, and the blood is obviously his, because his stiff fingers are pressed against a gaping wound at his side. That's all you get without further investigating.
What kind of gun does it look like? Like a knife gun, like the orc one, or a different one?
Well, for that you have to give me a medicine check on this person and a medicine check on the orc.
Okay. Okay. Not awesome, but I have decent, like a Moses.
Sorry?
Okay, I get a 21 on this person.
What about the orc?
Maybe it's a natural 20 on the orc.
All right. This guy, poor man from Lake Town, his large gaping wound is like jagged. It's not like a straight cut from a fine weapon, so you can only realize, or another word for realize, but I just escaped my mind. This is definitely a wound from an orcish blade. And then you go over to the orc and have a closer look at his body. Now, from all the wounds that you find on him, you actually turn over his cloak, and you see in the back between his ribs still stuck a dagger. And this dagger does not look like any of the daggers that you have seen. This one seems to be of fine make, and if you ask your companions, your fellow elf can tell you that this is definitely an elven dagger, and is definitely coming from the woodland realm. Apparently this human was surprised by the orc, probably, or just, they had a fight inside the room.
And they kill each other.
They both mortally wounded each other. But the dagger is an elven dagger and it's his back.
And Giles is going to get straight to kind of pull it off and inspect it. Even it's kind of how do you say it? It's like a highlight against the rest of the dark gloomy room. It's kind of something that doesn't look like wore down compared to the rest. Does it look like having an inscription or anything on it? The dagger itself?
No, it's just a recognizable dagger that they usually, the ones that they usually make in Thranduil's kingdom. My mouth is dry. One more thing you find, and you find it on the body of the human, and it is a pouch with 60 silver pennies. Those silver pennies are coins that are specifically minted into the woodland realm, for the one and only purpose that they are employed, and this is for when they trade with foreigners, mostly Lake Town people.
Okay. So Giles will go back to the others and kind of sell the dagger to our good friend the elf here and say like, Look, it seems I found something that comes from your people.
I'm going to take a look at the dagger. I'm going to ask him, where did you find this? Because I've been looking around, mostly.
Well, it was jabbed in and the corpse of that orc we found earlier. Seems it's what killed it. Or mortally wounded it before it died down eventually. Seemed to belong to that lake man over there. Now the lake man also happened to have some coin still on him. I don't know. I guess it can be of any use to him. I don't know if it will be much to us. I mean, they don't really use much coin around these parts, but maybe it could be useful. Who knows?
And this dagger is the only thing you found.
Yeah, this dagger I found on the orc corpse. I don't know. Guess I can keep it as an elven souvenir. That could be, maybe could bring me good luck if we have to fight again. I really hope not, but who knows?
Can I just add? I don't know if on purpose or not. You are missing the fact that the dagger was stuck in his back. Just because of the 20, I wanna tell you about this fact again, so that it sticks in your mind.
Stuck in his back. But this wasn't like, because you told me they kind of were surprised and fought each other and mortally wounded each other, is what it seems.
Maybe the orc has wounds on his front, like on his body. He fought a human. The human has a orcish blade on his side, the large gaping wound, which was probably what was the murder thing. And this guy has an elven dagger stuck in his back.
And there's no dead elf.
Do the other wounds that the orc have look similar to the one from the dagger, or are different?
That's the question you should be asking. No.
Actually, now that I think of it, it's like if the orc survived the fight against that human and then something came and killed him afterwards, where he was reeling, I guess, from the previous fight. Maybe there's someone else around. Does the whole reason look like both corpses, like the human and the orc?
Recent with regards to they're not here from ages ago. Definitely could not have been more than a few weeks. And because of the Radagast here, that because of the magic of the place, the evil sorcery that is about, maybe that's why they are so well preserved, because one of the domains of the necromancer is, of course, death.
And another question, do they look like they're basically died very close in time, one to the other?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe our late man was in here with someone else, and that someone else managed to finish off the orc and leave. Maybe someone of your kin too, look into the elf.
Leave his blade.
The thing is that, why would the orc turn back to the elf? Is it possible that the orc and the elf knew each other or were working together at some point? It could be chance. It could be, just in the brawl, the orc turned its back and the elf could struck the dagger in it, or the elf was commanding the orc, and when he saw the job finished, he just finished off the orc too. Is there any sigils or any?
Or maybe
any
he took the orc by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything that marks something on the bodies, like their quotes and so on, since it's not decomposed and all that?
They're not decomposed yet. The lakeman's garb seems to be directing towards a normal human from Lake Town, no one of importance, but also not like a lowly harbor luggage hauler or something like that. The orc, of course, you cannot really discern their social status among the orcish social bladder. He's like a regular orc to you.
Okay. Well, I don't know, guys. Actually, if you want to finish off here, or...
Yeah, just a little bit. Yes, Radagast is with you. He seems to be baffled by all this, but he's waiting on you on your good suggestions, and he urges you to keep looking. Maybe there's something more, since these three clues don't really make much sense. Maybe there's more. So can everyone give me another perception check? Search the place.
Red almost fell off the table.
17, I think it's -1.
6.
That's 15.
10.
I'm busy reading.
All right. Well, just as you really cannot put two and two together, and Barador and Darmidan are most suspicious, they keep looking for other clues and do find something next to the body of the human. Just as I described him, he is leaning against the wall. So if you and stiffen up like right there, if you moved him behind him in a crack in the sand, in the mortar and the stones that are in the wall, you find other documents. These ones are blood stained, obviously from the blood that came from the human. And these are written in common speech, but I'll have the elf find them, because to him they'll be most alarming. In common speech, they are very podrobni. Detailed descriptions of the woodland realm. They mentioned the guards along the elven path. They mentioned the guards moving along the forest river. They mentioned even the guard shifts along the east gate and the defenses of Tarandui's Hole. So obviously someone who gave that information to the enemy clearly had intimate knowledge of the woodland realm. And they have been given in the common speech.
I would call this part the elven traitor.
I will take it upon me to write this all down so that we don't lose it and you don't forget it. And before the next session, to give you all the clues in one place so that you can think of possible scenarios and what to do next. And on this note, I think we can finish for tonight.
Oh man, plot thickens for certainly.
I wouldn't expect any less.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah, that's all.